Hey everybody, this is Andrew at the Chicago Music Exchange. I'll be cloning the tone of Jimmy Page on Whole Lotta Love off of Led Zeppelin II. I've loved Led Zeppelin for a long time, a really long time. So the first piece of the puzzle is the Les Paul. I'm using a 1977 Gibson Les Paul Custom to get the sound of Jimmy's 1960 Black Beauty that was famously stolen. There's a lot of controversy about which Les Paul Jimmy used on the recording. He himself has stated he used this one, and he also used his famous number 159 standard. To my ear, this sounds closer to the recording, so that's what I'll be using. The first amp I'll be going through is a setup I imagine Jimmy would have been doing in the studio. Famous for using small, low wattage amps with just interesting miking techniques to get depth is what Jimmy would have done in the studio. So I'll be using this 1962 Fender Champ. We're close miking it and getting our dynamics from the Earthquaker Devices Dispatch Master. There's one knob on the amp. It is a volume that goes from 1 to 12. I'll be pushing it to 12. And any and all dynamics is just nuanced on the guitar. I'll demonstrate that for you now. So this is sitting the guitar at about 3 or 4 on the volume knob on the bridge pickup. And pushing it all the way up. So you can hear there's the natural breakup of the amp. It just sounds like the speakers being shredded. So to simulate the interesting mic technique that Jimmy and Eddie Kramer would have been using in the studio, I'm using the Earthquaker Devices Dispatch Master. You can hear in the recording that the left side is heart panned the dry signal of the guitar, and the right has the distant mic that's probably thrown down a hall. You get a little bit of pre-delay, and it just throws a lot of depth into the recording. So here it is, the dry signal. And with the reverb. You can hear it's really subtle, but especially when I do a more percussive hit, there's a little bit of the delay. I've got that sitting at about 9 o'clock, just to give it a little bit of a detail and a hint of space. That's what the second mic would have been picking up in the studio. And now for a more modern way to achieve this classic broken up amp sound. I've got a Fender Blues Junior combo, an Emerson custom EM-Drive, the Dispatch Master, and then this AB box is just switching between the two amps. The settings on the Blues Junior have the reverb turned all the way off because I'm getting that from the Dispatch Master. The master volume set at about 3, the middle turned to about 11, bass sitting right between 6 and 7, treble turned all the way up to 12 to get that bite, the fat switch turned on, and then the volume on the far right between 6 and 7 as well. Here's what the Fender Blues Junior sounds like completely dry. So it's broken up a little bit, and I'm going to push that over the top with the Emerson EM-Drive. It gives it a little bit more warmth. The breakup is more kind of like a fuzz. It's emulating the natural sound of just a speaker that sounds like it's being overdriven. And then, same as the Fender Champ, I've got the Dispatch Master for just a little bit of depth. The tone Jimmy gets on the solo has always been really, really cool to me. It's a nasally, kind of nasty, but still contained fuzz, compressed sound. How he gets that, same setting, all turned all the way up on the Fender Champ. He's famous for using a Vox wah. I'm going to use the Dunlop, which is kind of the industry standard. The wah sound we're all familiar with is rocking it back and forth, going from bass and treble, getting that kind of classic Jimi Hendrix sound. Which is really cool, but Jimmy Page sets it at a point that gets that real nasty, nasally sound to cut through the mix. So you just really have to find a place that you like within the wah. By itself, not the most pleasing in the world, but in the mix, it cuts right through and it sounds great. So those are a couple ways to get that classic whole Lotta Love sound, either pushing a small wattage amp over the edge naturally, or doing it with a transparent overdrive and throwing a little reverb on there for depth. Thank you for letting my 14-year-old self's dream come true, and I hope you enjoyed it.